please submit your questions via the chat option. This is designed to be a question and answer format, so try to avoid long speeches. So our first question are, what are your top 3 goals for the remainder of the school year and next year? We'll start with you, Pat.
So this is my first year in Danville as superintendent there. So the goals that I really had for this year was to establish relationships out in the community, be a part of things like this, and just really get Danville involved, across, the greater Burlington area. Internally in our district, one of the things we've really been focused on is, creating and maintaining a strong culture and climate amongst our adults. And so, my goal, I think we've done a really nice job of creating an atmosphere that kids want to come and learn, teachers want to come and teach, parents and community want to be involved in. So just maintaining that and keep moving forward with that. We talk a lot about the whole child in Danville. And so kind of the other 2 goals are we're pursuing, academic initiatives with standards-based grading, teaching, and reporting. And then we're also focused a lot on social emotional behavioral health. And so for me, those are our top 3 goals: the culture and climate, academics, and social emotional behavioral health for kids. So,
yep. Thank you. Lisa?
So the 3 goals, some of them are very similar to what Danville would have. The deepening our learning, aligning our standards, continuously looking at our instruction to make sure that we're engaging kids and we're having students become more responsible for the learning, building a culture that is collaborative in nature. No more can teachers go in their classrooms and work singularly. We have to work in teams, and that needs to be across the entirety of the district. So we're really spending a lot of time and focus on building quality, sustainable professional learning communities or collaborative teams with our staff. And the 3rd goal that we have on the instructional side would be the focus on what we're doing and focusing our direction. So we're in the middle of the portrait of a graduate process, whereby we determine what it is that we want our graduates to know and be able to do. And that starts as the focus then to guiding our strategic planning process. So we're wrapping up that portrait of a graduate part, and we're getting ready then to begin to sit down and analyze that. We know our current state. We need to define the desired reality and then build the bridge to get there. So that's the work that we're doing, and that's a goal, to be able to have that strategic plan that will guide us moving forward, ready by the start of next school year.
All right, great. All right, Corey.
So, in Burlington, we continue to maintain a strong focus and efforts around fulfilling our core values, which are going to sound pretty similar in terms of what districts are focused on, which is for us is quality instruction, a culture of mutual respect and learning, being effective and efficient in our operations, and then having that culture of collaboration for our staff and our community. So within that, specifically, kind of the urgent needs or the immediate work right now in that effective and efficient operation, and also the quality core instruction world. We're in the midst of a over $40 million renovation of Burlington High School. And we are just so excited for how those plans are coming together. Almost a vast majority of the building is going to be at least remodeled, if not completely renovated. And we'll start to see those new renovations opening next fall with a brand new science wing and an enclosed pathway between the CTE building and the main building, and a new weight and fitness area. And then that'll continue to roll through phases over the next couple of years. So continuing to manage that well is important to us. We want to continue to expand our opportunities for students and our parents and our families through career and technical education. We're looking at being very purposeful in expanding our STEM focused programs, not just at the secondary level, but at the elementary level, and also really impacting extracurricular involvement and fine arts involvement. Those are a couple of big key areas for us to continue expanding those opportunities for students, and just continuing to ensure high quality programs for our students and our staff, and using what we see as evidence-based practices to make sure we're providing the best quality programs we can for our students, provide the best quality professional learning and supports we can for our staff, and keeping that strong culture for everybody.
Thank you. All right. So each school district has active business and career education partnerships. In what ways can businesses get involved in your school district? We'll start with you, Lisa.
I think their involvement would be consistent across all of us. So if I miss something, you have the internships, you have the mentorings, you have observations, you have work study structures, the opportunity for kids to come and visit in terms of field trips. And all those pieces is ways to partner. I believe while we speak to each school as a region, we need to think about how we can do that efficiently and effectively as the 4 county schools, and drive towards making sure we have consistency, but we use all of our resources to the best of our ability. So I'll let the guys add into that.
You go, Pat.
Okay. I mean, I agree. And I think we have kind of a unique opportunity in Danville. So amongst our CTE programs, excuse me, 4 teachers are in their first year with us. They have previous experiences. And then the 5th teacher is in her 2nd year with us again, but with previous experiences. But in terms of Danville, we've really had a lot of conversations just about our programming and ways to innovate and create new opportunities for students. So we're reaching out and trying to create kind of a partner board that'll help guide us, through like, what is the workforce looking for? How can our students be better prepared to enter, career readiness? Whether college is in between high school and being in a career, we know career is the ultimate goal. So how do we get kids, ready for that? We're really trying to expand the work-based learning and internships. And so we've had a lot of conversations across the county schools about how we partner together with, the Greater Burlington Partnership and each other to offer more programs, more things to help get our students ready. We've done some mock interviews this past Monday, and that was really powerful and a good experience for our students. So we're always looking for businesses to come into the schools, talk to our kids, and share about their organizations, and also allow our kids a chance to kind of get some real world experience. And then, career days, class, kind of Q&As, our teachers are always willing to partner with anybody. So if anybody's interested, reach out and we're happy to work with you. So.
Awesome. All right, Corey.
I think Lisa and Pat have hit a lot of the key areas. I also want to thank the business community out there for what you're already doing. We just had the 5th grade career fairs and the 8th grade career fairs that the partnership and the SCC hosted these past 2 days, and those were amazing events. So thanks to those of you out there who participated in those or who had staff members participating and presenting in those. I had an opportunity to float around for a little bit of time on both days and just was super impressed by our students, by the other students from the other districts, and by all the employers who are presenting. So big thanks to that, and continuing to work on those sorts of initiatives, STEM Fest, and providing those opportunities for students and families throughout the region. We're always looking for those opportunities. We've invested really heavily at the secondary level and continue to invest. One of the things that's a huge strength for us and that we really want to continue to enhance is a full offering of career and technical education pathways. We have lots of courses available, strong partnerships with SCC, as I know, with providing the concurrent enrollment piece, but really getting that work-based learning piece stronger, more students into the workplace for credit, more students into the workplace for job shadows. That's really going to be a focus and priority, and has been a focus and priority for us over the past year, especially coming out of COVID, as a lot of those opportunities went away for a couple of years. We really see a need to get kids into the workplace. So again, like Pat said, if you've got interest in partnering with school districts, reach out to us, reach out to our high schools. We are always looking for partners to place students in either, job shadows, field trips, internships, pre-apprenticeship programs. So always looking for partners for those types of placements.
Great. So Corey, we're going to start with you. What is the largest challenge for the district, and what are the plans to manage it?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that we face, and I'll be curious to hear what Lisa and Pat have to say, but I think one of our biggest challenges is the population changes in our region. So the Burlington region we're in the midst of a population decline, and that's just part of our reality. So we're seeing fewer students, fewer families. If you look at population data over the past 30, 40 years, there's been about a 20% decline in Des Moines County population. There's just fewer people here. And that causes enrollment concerns. That also causes workforce concerns. It's harder to find the employees that we need, to attract and retrain them. We've been really happy with some of the efforts that we've done in those areas. But, we need to continue to be thoughtful and be purposeful. And we have been, about how we manage our resources, how we future plan, how we manage time, how we manage people, how we manage our money to be able to ensure that as the population of the county continues to change, we're still positioned and prepared to offer high quality programs, be able to provide the full range of services and supports and courses that our community expects of us, and to do it in that effective and efficient way, and be able to retain and continue to attract and retain, young professional staff to the region. And we've seen we've had a lot of success in that area, recruiting and retaining staff to this region, and coming from other parts of the state or other parts of the country. And that's been exciting to see. But, just continuing to work with the business community, with the partnership, and looking for those strategies to enhance the population growth, professional growth, career the recruiting professional people to the region. We continue to work and engage with the partnership and other organizations around those efforts.
All right, thanks. All right, Lisa.
So our greatest challenge happens to be related to population and such as, but results from open enrollment. And so the open enrollment has an impact on your authority, which makes it very challenging to build an equitable program compared to a district that would have served 900 students, which is very similar to what we have. So over half of our students are open enrolled in. I believe one of the powers of the greater Burlington area is that you have quality public school choice within a very small region. So I think that's actually a benefit to build on, but it challenges us because there's about a $3,000 difference between the revenues that are received for a open enrolled child versus a resident child. So a resident child is worth approximately $10,800. And an open enrolled in student generates revenues of approximately $7,500. Not all money follows the child. And when you have that significant of a open enrollment, then that's about $1.5 million out of a $9 million budget that we're trying to operate. And when you look at schools that serve kids of similar size, you find that the programming opportunities are very, very challenging. So none of us in the room created that challenge. Once open enrollment rules say that once a child has attended your district, you're required to educate them. 21% of our open enrolled in students are under a continuation of program. We do not control that. Another 58% of them come from when they start kindergarten, and we've been responsible for their entire education. And so that's creating significant challenges. The laws that guide our current funding formula, the state started in '67 to deal with taxes in preparation for how they were going to fund schools. Prior to that, it was more of a local decision. 72, they came out with the original formal formula, and then they updated it in 87. Open enrollment was passed in 89. So you're looking between 35 and 50 years of a formula that, if we look at society, is very, very different. Our kids play together. We had a meeting the other night, and we had kids from Danville were there for the practice and kids from Burlington. Everybody lives and works together in this region, but we're still bound by geopolitical boundaries when we're funding the education of those students. And so we have to find a way as a region to maintain 4 viable schools, because I think if we push people if we limit those opportunities, then we limit the potential as well of maintaining people. All the schools are good, but the funding formula needs looked at, and there needs to be serious conversations, and it needs to not happen in the dark of the night.
Thank you. Pat?
Just to kind of continue some of the things that we've already heard, I think, Danville's been really fortunate in terms of our teaching staff. We are fully, staffed in terms of our teachers, but the shortage is still very real, in terms of the number of applicants you get for positions and things like that. So we're fortunate that we have all the teachers we need, but we are very short on substitutes. And that's a really difficult challenge for us. Our teachers have a right to take a personal day or a vacation if they need to, or be sick or have their families, that are sick. And it is tough when, we lack substitutes. Paraprofessionals and associates are also another area that we're short in. So we're looking. So if you're interested, give us a call. And the state, and there's a lot of opportunities to get certified as a sub or become certified as a paraprofessional. And we're willing to help with that. But that's a big one for us. In our area specific to Danville, the population decline, we're seeing some of that, but also the lack of available housing. So our enrollment has hit a little bit of a decline. And it's both a good and bad thing, right? People buy in Danville, they stay, they want to be there. But then that means we're not getting new resident students, as often as we did in years past. And so that's kind of another thing. And then just the resources and financing. I think, public schools are amazing organizations. And I think we have, a really great system of 4, great districts in this region. And we do a lot with, little. And so I think the more public can support public schools and help us increase funds, help the state see the need to do that, I think that would be a win for all of Southeastern Iowa's kids. So.
All right, Pat, I was going to start with you. And then the question was actually, you kind of touched on it. So I don't know if you have anything else to add to it, but what is your district doing or thinking about doing to help address the teacher shortage? So did you kind of expand a little bit, but do you want to say any more?
Yep. Like I said, we're fortunate that we have all the teachers that we need. But one of the things, that I talk a lot about is I think the best recruitment tool is retention, so creating a district that adults and our teachers and our kids want to be in. We kind of joke that we want kids and adults kicking down the doors to get in, not out. Right. And so we talk a lot about culture and climate, and we think, we offer some really cool stuff, but if you come in, you're going to feel supported. You're going to feel like administration has your back. And the community has your back. And I think so for us, that's been a big focus, is let's keep the people we got, because we have some good ones, and try and lower that turnover. On top of that, I think we, have been looking at starting pay, and I think we're pretty competitive within the region of where our starting pay is at. But it all ties back to, money might get somebody in the door, but culture is what's going to make them stay. And so for us, that's been a big emphasis, is just creating an environment that's fun to be in, that you can thrive in. We look at, establishing using the TL funds, the teacher leadership funds, from how do we empower our teachers to reach their fullest potential. And as superintendent, I believe, it's not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. And so for me, how can I help take care of our adults so they can then be their best selves to then help take care of our kids? And so I think, that'll help us hopefully, kind of stay on top of the teacher shortage. We did just give staff a bonus. And so we're looking at more creative ways to help just keep encouraging them and supporting them and making it so they want to stay in Danville for a long time. So,
right.
Yep.
All right, Corey.
Yeah, Patrick hit on a lot of the key importance of creating that strong work environment where people want to work and feel supported and feel like they're a member of the community. We also, obviously want to make sure we're being as strong as we can be with our, compensation and benefits packages, and, within the resources that we have available to us. We've also continued to look at innovative ways and new ways to increase the pipeline. So we are one of the districts that received the teacher apprenticeship grant from the state of Iowa. We have a standalone grant that's just as our district offering it. So it's about $500,000 to take 10 paraeducators from paraeducator to teacher licensure. And we're running that within our district and have those folks in the pipeline. So that gives it's a career advancement opportunity that helps pay their costs and helps reimburse us to help us support their professional learning and development as that goes along as well. So we're excited for those people to be able to come into the classroom as licensed educators. We work really hard with Southeastern Community College at the Course Early Childhood Center, where they have an education program, and also with our concurrent enrollment offerings and all the other Iowa Wesleyan and all the other colleges and universities across the region to provide practicum placement and student teaching placements. We think that's really important to be a partner with them to get early career educators, or even just people who are thinking about education as a career, that opportunity to get into a classroom, to see it, to feel it, to understand it. And that we really take that part of our role as part of the pipeline of educators to be, to be a piece of the work. And I think the resources that we provide for our professional staff and our non-professional staff, investing in teacher leadership, like Pat said, make sure we have those instructional coaches available so that teachers have the supports when they need it, when something's not going, when they're not sure, when they feel like they need some job embedded professional learning, some coaching, some supports. Also having supports available for students, whether it be behavioral interventionists, academic interventionists, and making sure that we have the support structures in place for students, for staff, for families, that'll help us with that, that recruitment and that retention piece as well. So just continuing to look for those, continuing to be strong in those things we've done in the past, but also looking for innovative ways to expand the pipeline.
Great, thank you. Lisa?
I think the only thing that I would add is, I believe most of us have opportunities for high school students to work within the classroom if they're interested in education. So that gives them a first view and kind of I may really want to do this. We have 2 teachers as interns through Morningside this year, which would be new for us. And that has been working well. As well, we've moved to, if we have an open position and we have a staff member interested, we will offer to pay for the endorsement related to that, as long as they give us years of service after that. So getting that commitment long term.
Nice.
And I'd say, I want to tag on real quick, for people who are out there looking for a career change or looking for jobs, like look to your schools, because a lot of times you think about teachers or principals and you think you have to have a license for every job that happens in a school district, or you have to have a degree in education. Obviously, for some of the teaching jobs, that's obviously true, but there's a lot of good professional jobs and jobs that some require a degree, some that don't require a degree, that we all have available for a wide range of employment opportunities. So, a lot of people don't know what all the wide array of jobs that are available in the school district. If it happens in a business, it happens in our organization too. So don't forget to take a look at those if you're a job seeker.
I think one of the things that the schools are also trying to work collaboratively on is, can we figure out how we can make a calendar that is more supportive of all the families and our staff as families across the schools? Because we have people who, one may be employed in one district and another in another district, or you have a child here and you work here, and your spring break, your Christmas break, and all of those things can just get really, really messy. So the county superintendents are trying to figure out, can we set some parameters so we can ensure better family time for our staff and our students, especially those who are working across the school districts.
All right, so the state of Iowa has been exploring vouchers. Please explain the positive or negative for your district. We'll start with you, Corey.
Okay. I think, there's Lisa already made, I think, one of the really important points on this, and that's that there's already a lot of opportunity for school choice in Iowa. Iowa has very strong and lenient open enrollment policies and laws, very, very strong and lenient homeschool policies and laws and programs and opportunities. We have public on virtual schools that are public schools that you can either take advantage of in your local community, like our VIBE program, or open enroll into, that are public school run. So, there's already a lot of choice for families in Iowa through public education. And I think that's just a really key important thing to remember. And the key in that is through public education. And part of public education is about ensuring high quality in the educational program, ensuring that schools are meeting the accreditation standards. A public school has a certain we have a certain standard we're held to. And in some of those ways, it's different than what private schools are held to. I think it's also important to remember that we're talking about taxpayer funds, and that public school districts have a high level of a high standard and a high level of financial accountability that we're held to. We have a high standard for how we spend money, how we track money, the transparency around how we use taxpayer funds. And again, those same principles aren't in place in private schools. And I'm not saying that they're misusing funds by any means, but that same transparency and those same rules aren't in place. So, by funneling taxpayer dollars, public funds to private schools, are we going to also have mechanisms that hold them to those same levels of accountability and standards for financial accountability, for accounting, and also for the academic program? So that's one of the big questions I have, is how do we make sure that public funds continue to be used appropriately and in a way that is comparable and equal to what we expect out of our public schools for using those funds.
Thank you. Pat?
So I mean, I'll piggyback on a lot of what he just said. But I think it's important to know that vouchers don't offer parents true, real choice because private schools still have the ability to decline student enrollment. Public schools don't have that option, nor do we want that option. We want to serve every child that comes our way. And so I fear that, there might be this illusion that vouchers will guarantee access to some of those private institutions, and that's just not the case. And so I also worry about, just the disparity that could cause between, public schools trying to, what Lisa was saying earlier, provide really great programming for students. And this is just another source that could pull funds away from us trying to serve our kids the best we can. I worry that it's going to create some pretty distinct boundaries between a private and a public school in terms of cooperation, creating some pretty non-public interest competition, where public schools will be playing a fixed game where we can't control the price a student pays for tuition or enrollment, whereas a private school can. And if private schools maybe know they're going to get voucher money, do they raise the rest of the tuition that parents are responsible for, thus funneling more funds into a private education that public schools don't have the ability to do, again, nor do we want to. So I think those are some things that I worry about. The accountability, like he was talking about, public schools are transparent entities. So our accounting, our finances, our academic performance, all that is public information and public knowledge. And that's a good thing, right? We want to be held accountable for the results we produce for our students. And I know specifically in Danville, knowing our information, I'm pretty proud that it's public. I want people to go look at it and check it out. But private schools, they don't have to do that. And so I think if they're going to be receiving public funds, then there needs to be public accountability. Our boards are publicly elected governmental officials. Private schools, traditionally are held in private boards, appointed board members. And so we think we serve the public interest really well. And I'm not knocking private schools at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I think Iowa, I came from Missouri where open enrollment is not a thing. So I think Iowa already has, a lot of school choice. And in, Des Moines County, we have 4 really great school systems that you can pick from. I'm proud of what Danville offers. And I just don't think vouchers are the answer to maybe what people might perceive as a fix to whatever they're thinking is happening in public education. Our schools are really, really good and really, really strong. And we provide really great things for our kids. And I worry that vouchers aren't going to help our students. In long term, it could be damaging. So, yep.
Lisa?
So there's already $83 million put into private schools, either as a tax credit or as funding. Okay, so when you take the 32,000 plus or minus students that they serve, that's $2,535 a student. And the voucher that was proposed last year in terms of the amount that was credited would be more than I get for an open enrolled in student. And that sounds like we're talking about students as chattel, and that's not what it is. It's about the education of the student. Vouchers, accredited non-publics, do not have the same rules. They do not have the same expectations. They are not required to teach the same things, to the same standard that we are. They don't have the same sanctions. And so I would say I'm not necessarily opposed to a voucher system, but it needs to be equitable in what we do. The voucher bill that was presented last year clearly said that nothing would change for the accredited non-public. This would not force them to make any other changes related to their instruction. And that's the part that's most challenging for me related to vouchers. The other piece about the message that's being delivered around vouchers is that public schools are not doing a good job. So this is why we have to create competition. And I don't think that's fair to the public schools. I think it's wrong to the public schools. We're using politics when we're talking about the education of students. And they're very different. If you look at the research at a national level, because you cannot get it at the state level, we serve very different populations. And they come from very different household structures. There are just different barriers to learning. And for our need to serve everyone, we're really good systems. Okay. Not perfect, need to continually improve. I think would all tell you it's a process of continuous improvement. But the bashing that we're taking by saying that we're not meeting the needs of students and the achievement is greater in the accredited non-publics is not apples to apples. I've worked to try to figure out what is the free and reduced rate across the state of each of the accredited non-publics. What is their proficiency rate? I've worked on that since June and I still don't have that data to even begin to say, okay, what is the reality? Because maybe we do need to fess up and say they've got something going well. And it's not a them and us. It's a political piece. And that's my greatest frustration. This is about educating children. And we're making it a political thing. There are now fewer students attending accredited non-publics than there are under open enrollment. And yet the focus is on the accredited non-public voucher system versus looking at what do we need to do as a state under open enrollment. Let's get everybody in the room from every side of the view and figure out what we need to do to be equitable to kids. And that's the part that I think is most wrong. I also question Constitution Article 1(3). If it's a parochial accredited non-public, is it a ministry? And so have they resolved the issue? Do they have clarity around the issue about whether that's a ministry? And that's a legal, that'll be a legal case. So yeah, Corey, there are 12 school choice options for parents in Iowa. And the only two that have the same expectations are the resident district and the open enrolled district as a public school.
Absolutely. I want to piggyback off something Lisa just said and about, both the political nature of it and the evidence base of it. So, when you look at, there are states across the country who have had various types of vouchers, charters, other types of school choice laws over the past 20 years. It's not a new concept. So we can learn a lot, like we do with everything in education. We look to the data, we look to the evidence, we say what works, what doesn't work. And when you look at national data around private school choice, vouchers, charter schools, the data is not there to support that it's effective, to support that it makes a meaningful difference for educational outcomes for students in either setting. So, I think it's really important to think if we're going to put, as a state, this level of emphasis or this level of support behind it. And I think, just this much cost in it, because I think one of the things that people tend to overlook is thinking about if this were to be enacted, what's the bureaucratic structure that's going to have to be put in place to manage it? How many new bureaucrats are going to have to sit either in Des Moines or in local school districts to manage those funds, to manage the program? And I think that's just in and of itself a misallocation of funds and something that we don't need to spend money on creating those channels. The legal piece is also huge. As actually just yesterday, there was a school choice law in the state of Kentucky that their Supreme Court unanimously overturned yesterday. So Kentucky just had a law that passed, and just yesterday their Supreme Court overturned it. So there's a lot of complicated issues here. And like Pat and Lisa, I really worry that what this is really just doing is using public education as a political pawn. We're politicizing the work. We're demoralizing, which leads to we're demoralizing our educators. We're further diverting funds away. We're further diverting attention away. We're spending our time and energy and focus on this, and that's diverting our resources, whether it be money, whether it be our time, whether it be our brain power, away from the true purpose and mission of public education. So that's unfortunate. And if it were to come into play, I just really worry that it would create more inefficiency and more ineffectiveness for everybody.
I would like to add one piece to that $83 million. That doesn't include all the support that the public schools provide to the private schools related to special education services. So we know one of the greatest shortage areas is tied to special education teachers.
No.
And we have to provide that service. The accredited non-public does not provide that service.
No, a lot of people don't. Yeah, that comes as a surprise to a lot of people. And, Notre Dame's a great partner with us. We have a good working relationship with them, but they exist within the boundaries of the Burlington Community School District. So we have a lot of responsibility for some of the programs and services that happen there. We already, like Lisa already mentioned, the funds statewide, the public funds that already go to private schools. There are portions of public funds that they have access to already. Those funnel through our district. So I see those, I sign off on those. That's part of my part, that there's already funding through to the accredited non-publics for certain targeted things for which there are some levels of accountability and compliance. So they get some certain funds related to professional development for their certified teachers. They get a certain amount of funds for instructional materials for their academic programs. They get certain access to certain federal title funds to provide student supports and resources. But then, like Lisa said, we provide, and again, if it's a West Burlington resident, if it's a Burlington resident, we're providing the special education services for students who have IEPs. We're providing English language learner services for students who qualify for those. We provide intervention services for academic interventions for students who qualify for Title I academic interventions. So students who attend the private schools already have access to funds and services through the public school system in a way that is managed, in a way that is accountable, in a way that's that maintains that public transparency of how we're doing those services.
All right. So last and final question, and unfortunately Mediapolis School is not here, but we just want to talk about how the four schools are working together. So Pat, you want to start us off?
Sure. So being new to the region, and hearing about open enrollment, and all that, I was worried that amongst, the counties, if there's because of competition and all this, that it would not be a collaborative relationship. And that's just not the case. We meet monthly, and like Lisa was saying earlier, are looking at aligning our calendars, discussing, career technical education partnerships, looking at ways that we can help just, increase the opportunities for all Southeastern Iowa students. We share sports, across the schools already. So it's just a really collaborative kind of environment amongst, the school districts and the four superintendents, because we recognize the larger picture that it's about the region and it's about how can we increase the educational benefits for all of our kids, right? And of course, we take pride in each of our individual school districts, but it's friendly and it's in a way that really, was the expression of rising tide lifts all boats, right? And so, for us, I've really gotten to enjoy to know the different schools, to know the different superintendents. It felt really welcomed here. And so, I think just to kind of put an emphasis on it, like we're exploring career technical ed partnerships, aligning calendars, sharing sports, and even our principals are talking and collaborating and stuff too. So, we all love our own district, but we also recognize that it's for the greater of everybody to work together. So.
Great. Lisa?
And the only thing I think I would add to that is we're also working on common professional development, particularly in leading to the CTE structures that we have. Which is exciting as well.
Corey?
I think they gave a couple good examples, but I think people assume that we're, it's all about competition between the districts, and there's always going to be a piece of that, but it is more about collaboration. It's more about efficiencies. It's really about working together because, I like Patrick's quote there, but the health, and I think it was Della that said this a few years ago, but the health and vitality of our region as a whole, the business community, the living and working, the quality of life is completely intertwined with the health and vitality of the public school systems in the county. And so if we want to see the greater Burlington area grow, if we want to see it be as the vitality of the community really rise to the level that we all want to see. The health of the school districts is critical to that. We are, especially when you combine us, we are some of the largest employers. We are a huge industry. We pump millions of dollars into our local economy through payroll, through our purchasing, through a lot of other things that we do. And again, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't think about with public schools is that we are, you know, we are a business too. We have a lot of, you know, we're an employer, we have our, you know, when we're doing business in the community. And that's just an important thing to remember, that we've got to work together with our business partners, with our community organizations, with each other to make sure we're being efficient, to make sure that we're being collaborative, and ultimately to make sure that we are doing our part to grow Greater Burlington.
Great. Great, Rachel, do we have any questions from asked and answered? Okay. Does anybody in the room have any questions? Comments? All right. So a really great discussion today. Thank you both, all of you, both, everyone, for coming today and participating. Mark your calendar for the next Friday forum on Friday, January 20th at 8 a.m. Have a great Friday.